Alright guys, how is it going? Welcome to this wonderful bootcamp. So basically today we are going to be learning CSS display and positions. So basically displays are used to arrange your website. So when you visit a particular website, it has a structure, right? So it has a pattern in which the website is being arranged. So you use your display to section or to structure your site to the pattern or the format you want. Positions are used to um, do some other arrangement, like making some other arrangement between two elements or more than two elements. So basically CSS display are being divided into majorly two parts, right, which are grid and flex. So we are going to be learning grid, when to use grid, when to use flex. We are going to be learning position relative and position absolute. So without further ado, let's get started. So we navigate to our VS Code. So what we want to do right now is to see the differences or how to use CSS displays. So basically displays, like I said, are used to section your website. If we navigate to our browser, right, and then let's say we visit a particular browser, right, so this is like a particular website, right. Now if you see, we have various images, right. Now the reason why these images are aligned like this is because they are being formatted with display. So this probably might be display flex or display grid, so depending. So like I said, displays are used to arrange your website to the format or pattern you desire to arrange it to. Okay, so basically we, in our previous class, we've learned about selectors, how we can work with selectors, how we can style each element with selectors, right. So we'll be doing some styling too with selectors, right. Basically we'll be working with class selectors. So what we want to do next is to create a div, and then this div is going to, because right now we are going to see the differences between CSS grid and CSS flex, that's CSS display, right. So what we want to do is to see the differences right now. Okay, so we have a div, right, and then we can have like let's say three other divs inside of this div, right. So I can have like this, and I can call this div like div 1. Then I can have another div here, and I can call this div 2. Can have another div here, I can call it div 3. Okay, all right. So now basically when you want to apply display on your elements, right, so your display usually goes to, or you usually target your parent element, right, or your parent tag. So here now we have div, we have three other divs inside of this div. So basically we target this first, this our parent div here, this one wrapping these three other divs. That's what we are going to target to give it a display, because since it's the parent and these other ones are the child, we have to specify, okay, we want to apply the grid on the parent so that it will now section the child element into different places we want, right. So let's give this a class of a selector, class selector of, let's call it parent div, and then copy this stuff. Let's go to our home.css. So basically, before we style anything in our CSS, right, we have to remove padding and margin, right. So we have to remove the default padding. So set padding to be 0, we set the padding to be 0, we set the margin to be 0, and then we also set the box. These various divs here, we can call them, let's say we call them, give them a class of child div, Now what we want to do is this, is to come here. Let's just give it a border, right? So let's give it a border. So let's give it a border of let's say 2, and then let's make it solid. So solid is basically making the color 1, so it should not be like a gradient. And then let's give it a color of blue. Okay, right. So now you see that we have each of those boxes, or each of the divs, right? You can see the segment, right? So there's what we call gap in CSS. So basically gap works with displays, right? Especially display flex and grid. Now if you come to here and then you want to apply spacing, now you see these elements are being joined together, right? So they are joined together. Let's say we want to apply spaces in between them. We can simply use gap, and then we can say gap of like 20 or 30 pixels, right? We want to check something. So let's say we give this an ID of div 2. So basically copy this and then come here. All right, so let's say we give this a padding of let's say padding of 30 pixels. All right, so there's what we call flex align item center, right? So basically align item center is used to align the item at the center, right? So we added padding here, and then you see, okay, let's remove this align item center, right? Now you see that we have this width, the height is grown to a particular level, right? So align item center is used to align each of those elements at the center, right? And then we also have another property, another value called align item flex start. So flex start will start from the top. We have flex end. So flex start will align the item at the top, right? So it will take it to the top. We also have flex end. So basically flex end will take it to the bottom, right? And then we also have center. And then after this we have the CSS property called justify content center. So basically align item works on the child element or the children element inside of the parent element, right? But now we want to justify, or we want to take this parent div, which is this one here, to the center of our web page, right? To the center of our web page. So we will now see a CSS property called justify content, right, center. So basically when we do that, now if I try zooming out, you see that this our div here, the general div, right, the parent div, is being aligned to the center of the web page. So that's the function of a justify content center. So it works with flex and also works with grid. All right, so I think that's it for flex. I think when we start building the portfolio site, we'll have to see a lot from flex, how we can work with flex, a lot more on flex. All right, so let's see grid. Okay, so let's come here now, and then let's come here and try creating another div for grid. So basically we can call this let's have the same thing, div 1, let's have div 2, and let's have div 3. Alright, so we can call this div 1 grid, right? We can call this div 2 grid. We can call this div 3, sorry, the div 3 grid. Yeah, so basically we can give this a class name of let's say, and give it a class name of should we say grid parent, and then all this we give it class name of let's say grid div, right? All right, so what we want to do right now is to come to our CSS. We want to target the parent div, so we can target the parent div and then we give it a display of grid, right? So when we do this now, remember when we did for flex, instantly when we navigate to our web page, we saw the effect, it's changed, right? But in this case now, it's not affecting it, right? Basically, the reason is this: grid are grid are more like a native way of aligning or position or setting up our, should I say, display, right? So for this to work, there's what we call CSS property called grid template column. So basically, grid template column holds each size of the parent of the child element inside of the parent element. So if we want the width of the first one to be greater than, we can specify it, if because sometimes you want to do something like that, right? So if you want the width of the second one to be bigger, we can also specify it. If you want the width of the third one to be bigger, we can also specify it, right? So after we've given this grid template column, we have values, right? So the values are one f arrow, one f arrow, one f arrow. So basically, the first child element is taking one f arrow, the second is taking one f arrow, the third is taking one f arrow, right? They are taking equal spaces, right? So if I navigate, now I have my grid. Now if we give this each of those stuff, so I think we name them, let's see what we name them. We name them grid div, right? So if we target our grid div here, and then let's say we give it a border, right? A border of let's give it 2 pixel, let's give it solid, and then let's change this to pink. Right, so let's change this to pink, right? So now if we navigate to our website, now you see that the grid, it's affecting the whole of the width. That's why I told you that whenever you are doing alignment or setting your website and you want to give a particular display that will affect the whole of your width, it's advisable for you to use grid. Now we did the same element, right? We created the same element, the same thing, but now you see that CSS grid, right, is occupying the whole of the width of your web page. So even though we come here and apply gap here at the top here, apply gap. All right, so gap also works with display grid, right? So we can give this a gap of 30 pixel, and then when we navigate to our web page, you see that we have equal spaces, right? So we also have what we call justify content center, right? So we can also do justify item. So basically for grid it's justify item, for flex is justify content. So also has justify content, flex start, yeah, can check them out. So now we have our items, right, at the center, but right now it's still occupying the whole of the width though, so you can inspect and check it out. So we can, let's say we inspect, right? So let's go to our developers option, inspect, and then let's zoom this a little bit. So let's zoom this. Oh, sorry, why is it not zooming? All right, so yeah, so if we hover around this, we take this these two here, hover around it, you see that if we hover around the general element, it's still occupying the whole of the width, right? So yeah, so this is to tell you that it's still containing 100% of the width, right? So yeah, that's for that. All right, so we've learned about CSS flex, CSS grid, when to use them and how to use them. All right. right, so the next thing we want to learn is positions, right? So we have various positions, but we're going to be learning position relative and position absolute. So basically, let's say we want to, let me show you a situation or an instance where you want to work with position relative and absolute. Okay, so let's say we come to this account here, right? Now you can see these cat icons. Now you'll be wondering, how is this one being placed at the top of this particular icon here? So basically, this is being achieved with the help of positions, right? Position relative and absolute. So let's say we have an item, or we have let's just say we have a button, right, that says cat, right? And then we also have a paragraph, right, for the round part that says let's say value of 0, initial value should be 0. Now what we want to do is this: we can call this, or we can give it a class name of, let's say can give it a class name of, let's say, position div, right? And then when we copy this stuff, let's come here and then let's target that stuff. Now position is also a CSS property, right? So we can come here and then give it a position, so it accepts a lot of value, because we have position absolute, position fixed, position relative, position static, position sticky, right? So we are going to see more of these positions when we start building our project. All right, so here we can give it a position of the general div, right? Because we named this general div that is wrapping this button and paragraph. We gave it a selector of positive, right? So once we come here, give this a position of let's say relative, right? Now if we go back to our web page, now you see that, let me just kind of comment most of this stuff so that it will not be confusing to us. So to comment, you highlight and then control and slash, so that's used to comment. All right, so basically we have our cat here. Now what we want to do is to create something similar to this, right? We want this one to be at the top, right, of this cat. So basically we can come here in our general div, we gave it a position of what, relative. Now we want to target this paragraph here, right? So basically position relative is just like opening a way, or let's say creating a room, right, where an element can move around. So that's basically what position relative does. It will create the room for you. Then position absolute will not take that item that want to move around the room, will not take it around. So let's see how it works. So if you can come here and then we target our paragraph, right? So paragraph is here. Remember we said that we can target with the element name, right? So target a paragraph, we can give it a position of absolute, and then if you see, it still remains the same, right? There's nothing special, it still remains the same. So what we want to do, after you've given position absolute, right, we have an attribute called top, I have an attribute called bottom, right? We have an attribute called right, we have an attribute called left. So basically these four properties are used to move your position, your absolute value to different locations, right? So if you come here and you put top 0, right, it's gonna take this stuff to the top. You can see it's now at the top of this button, right? And then if you now do because since we want to align it to the right, like the example here, it's at the right hand side, so we can give the right a position of what, 0, right? So that's the two things we'll be working with. So we'll be working with both top and right. Yeah, so basically now you see that it's okay. Let's use left. So yeah, so we have left. So now what we want to do, let's just apply some padding so that this will be like, there will be more spacing. around this. All right, so okay, I think we should apply the padding on the body, or let's apply it to this universal stuff. Okay, all right, so I don't think 50 is much. Let's use 20. All right, okay, so okay, yeah, so it's perfect. Now you see that we have our stuff here at the right hand side and at the top, right? So what we want to do next is this. We want to take it we want to do something like this, right? So let's give it a font size of like let's say 50 pixel, right? All right, so we have this. So we can give it a top of, let's say, minus 20 pixel, right? So it will go to the top, right? And then we can give it a left of 20 pixel. All right, so you can make it like 50. Can make it like 50 pixel. All right, so then for the button, we can target our button here. Give it a background color of let's say brown, right? And then let's give it let's remove the border, so we can say border none to remove the border, and then I think that should be fine. Yeah, we can give it a border radius to make it round of 30 pixel. Yeah, okay, let's say 10 pixel. Yeah, this is fine. And then in our paragraph we can give a background color of white, and then yeah, okay, so let's see, let me reduce this to, right, so let me take away this padding because it's affecting. Let me put the padding in the button, in the body, right? Let me put it in the body. So let me target the whole body and then give it a padding of 20 pixels. Yeah, I think this is perfect. Let's just get rid of the padding, right? So I think that should be it. Or if we have, let's append this stuff inside a general div, right? And let's call this like, let's give it a class of general div and apply the padding here. All right, so come here. Yeah, so this is where we start. So we can give that a padding of like 30 pixel. Right, so yeah, I think this is perfect. So now we can get rid of the top, like 20. Let's say minus 10 actually, or let's say minus 5. Right, so then left we can give the left like 10. Right, so this is perfect. Now let's give padding to our box. So let's say we give it a padding of padding. So the first value here will be top and bottom. First value will be top and bottom. So top and bottom will be 10 pixel. Left and right will be 30 pixel. Yeah, so this is what we have. And then we can also give this a font size of like 20 pixel. Okay, let's make it 25. Right, so yeah, okay, so what else? Now we want to push this to the right hand side, so we can make it like 30. Okay, so let's make it like 50. Let's say 70. All right, okay, so then we can apply padding to this. We can make it padding of 5 pixel and also 8 pixel for left and right. And then we can make this border radius, the border radius to be 50%, so it should be round, right? So, and then let's reduce the font size because it's looking a little bit big. Let's take it the top to be like, let's say 0. Let's say 0, or let's say minus 10 pixel. Alright, so basically your styling, you have to do a lot of try and watch. So Let's change this color a little bit so that we can see the color. Let's change it to like kind of orange color. Okay. You see that we have. Let's make this like 3 pixel. Yeah. And then let's give this a border of 1 pixel, solid and white. Yeah. All right. So I think let's make it 2 pixel. All right, so we've achieved something. Let's just give this font size. Let's increase it like 20 pixel, and then let's make it bold. So we learned about font weight, so we can make it font weight. Can give it like 500 to make it bold, right? So we can keep the color to be white, color of the text, right? So yeah, so we have a nice looking cat button and value. So something like this. So this is a perfect situation where you want to work with position relative, right? Position relative and position absolute. All right, so I think we've come to the end of this lecture. I believe you enjoyed the whole section of this lecture. Please do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and then also follow us on all social media platforms. And please stay tuned for the next project. So in the next project, in the next class, yes, we are going to be building our project. So please stay tuned for that. See you then. Peace out.